Okay, so let's have a talk about Ireland's exit from the World Cup to New Zealand. I've been following Ireland for a long time now. I know plenty of viewers support Ireland, so it's kind of a video for you guys. But if you're interested in Ireland, do watch as well. And this is to take nothing away from the phenomenal, amazing performance from New Zealand. But I am going to focus on Ireland in this game. So was it a failure? Well, first of all, let's look at some of the pros, some of the positives if we can. Now, a defeat to New Zealand can't take away the achievements Ireland have had under Farrell. That series win in 2022 was absolutely epic. I mean, seriously, some of the best rugby I've ever seen played. Some of the rugby in this World Cup has definitely rivaled it, that's for sure. But some of the best rugby I've seen from an Irish team in that series. Grand Slam in the Six Nations this year. They're only 4th in history. Impressive pool wins in this World Cup against South Africa and Scotland meant they had topped the pool of death, which was the first job. An unbeaten run of 17 games. They're all achievements you can't take away from Ireland. But Ireland had done everything perfectly if they won that game against New Zealand, and they would have been big favourites to beat Argentina and be in a World Cup final. So I think that's what hurts the most. So close from maybe a World Cup final. So objectively, yeah, they probably are the greatest team in some ways in how they've played on the pitch, but they aren't in actual achievements because they haven't gone past this quarter-final. The next Irish team to go past the quarter-final, maybe they'll be the most successful. So close, but so far. But I think the harsh reality is Ireland, they weren't at their best in that quarter-final. That's what hurts the most. They've been at a consistent high level for so long now in the big games, and they didn't reach it in this game. And even so, they got close. Maybe one held up try away from the win. You can always go for ifs and buts, but I mean, they got close even not playing their best side. Is that comfort for Irish fans? Maybe not. But they did do some bad things in that game. They lost shape in attack, which they hardly ever do. They got isolated in attack, even for a fraction of a second, which is something Ireland don't normally do, but they did in the first half. The line-out struggled. Andrew Porter was showing a picture to the referee in the scrum that he didn't like, and he repeated it. So they did make a lot of mistakes, and they still got close. James Lowe, who is prone to the odd poor game, he had one there. Dan Sheehan got frozen by the attack from Mwanga, the options he had for his great break to set up Jordan's try. They struggled to deal with the AB's kick contest for sure, an area where they normally dominate or do very well. So these are a lot of areas you can objectively measure and say they didn't achieve the level of performance that they normally do, but they still got close. But anyway, if they were at their best, you don't know how this game was, but I mean, look at the faces on the New Zealand players when they won. They were so emotional. They know beating Ireland is amazing, so it kind of shows how good Ireland have been, but they weren't at that level. Now, there was an interesting comment from Ian Foster saying the Irish attack was cut and paste, and I don't think he was being derogatory. He was saying, we know what shape they're going to run. Of course, you can run lots of options of shapes, but maybe they could have shown New Zealand something a little bit different, but that's easy to say, hard to do, especially when the likes of Kane and Surveyor were so destructive in defence. They contested so many rucks. It was hard for Ireland to get that flow in attack anyway, but it did look like New Zealand were ready to meet the shape at least, but it didn't stop Ireland going through loads and loads of phases in attack. I mean, that last nearly 40-odd phase attack was crazy. It took a long time for New Zealand to break it down, but they did. So maybe a question is, did Ireland need a few more variations in that game? Could they have saved up something different from that game? I don't know, but because Ireland didn't perform as well as they normally do, maybe if they had done that and played their normal system, it would have been good enough, but it's definitely a question. Are Ireland not quite as good as we all thought they were? Well, my answer is no. They're a class side and they just didn't perform to their highest level in this one game. If they had and gone on, who knows, they could have been worthy World Cup champions. But champions perform when it matters most, and they just didn't here. So it's tough to take, but it kind of has to be classed as a failure. And we saw the level that New Zealand had to get to beat Ireland. The emotion on the New Zealand players' face was amazing. It said it all. Dare I say that maybe even Ireland are a victim of their own success. The way they beat New Zealand in New Zealand, maybe it just gave that extra 1% for New Zealand to try that a little bit harder, fire them up a bit more subconsciously. I don't know, but maybe that was a factor. Obviously, Ireland could do nothing about that, but it was there. So my final message to Irish fans is, yes, be disappointed for this World Cup. It was a chance to grab immortality, but also hold your head up high. You have a great team there. and it can carry on. There's no reason why it stops now. Sure, Johnny Sexton's retiring. You may lose some of the older members of the group as you go through the years, but you have a great system coming up through the youth pathway. There's lots of good players. There's no reason why they can't get to this stage again and have another shot at the World Cup and perform at the highest level. So Ireland, yes, it's disappointing, but they have a hell of a team and they'll be back. Comments below on Ireland's World Cup, and I'll catch you next time.